Look at that. That is what you call autumn gold.
Three rigs, all ready to rock and roll. Right then, you are joining me on the banks of the infamous Grenville Lake. It's late October, which is absolutely prime time for this venue, and I really think that it suits the lake. And the reason I say that is it's a pretty deep lake, a lot of open water, and for me, autumn fishing is targeting the open water where it's deep and applying lots of bait. Now, in this film, I'm going to be using an extraordinary amount of bait. Now, what I want to get across from the get-go is that I'm not telling you that you need to go down the tackle shop, buy 20 kilos of bait and throw it in your local lake, because Grenville is an anomaly. You know, it's a 72-acre gravel pit. It's got over 2,000 carp in it, with an average size of 37, 38 pounds, hundreds of 40s, tens of 50s, and even a few 60s. Now, obviously, you're looking to take a few tips from the film, but it's all to do with scale. So if you're fishing a lake that's only got a couple of hundred fish, you know, you can divide everything that I'm doing by 10. You know, if you're fishing a lake that's a lower stock than that, smaller stock, again, you can lower the baiting application. But I've arrived this morning, I've had a little look about, a little scout around, and one of my favourite swims was free, peg 33. Good swim, bit of an end peg if you like, and there was quite a few fish showing sort of just inside sort of my maximal casting range and a bit further. You know, you get a lot of there's a big area in the middle that you can't really reach, doesn't matter how good you are at casting, but some of them are sort of 150 yards out. And I've had a bit of a lead round at that range. It's all clear, it's all deep, you know, 25, 30 foot deep. And I've just picked the lines where I've seen the fish jumping, put markers out there at a clip point, 38 wraps, so just over 150 yards. And then again, like I say, at Grenville being a bit of an anomaly, can't even say it. The bailiff here, he puts your bait out for you. You know, normally you would spawn your own bait out, and you know, 10, 20 spawns might be enough, but because of the amount of bait needed, because of the range, you know, the bailiff goes out, takes your bucket, takes your bait and puts it around the mark float. Now I've put 5 kilos of 10 millers on each spot and 5 kilos of crumb on each spot. One's got cell on it, one's got the ISO fish on it, and they've both got 5 kilos of cell crumb. Now, it looks good. I'm in the right swim, the fish are here, I'm happy with the spots, conditions are good. That's one thing that I really want to get across. This lake in the autumn, for some reason the fish tend to like the back of the wind, which is very, very helpful when you've got a fish far out. Obviously fishing at 150 yards is difficult, especially so in a crosswind or a straight in wind, but we've got a tailwind that should get me out there pretty comfortable. The rigs are ready, I'm ready, let's get them out there. Well, that didn't take long at all. Got the first rod in, spent a little bit of time mending the line, getting it nice and straight. Just about to cast the second one out, and the first one's away, and that's over 10 kilos of bait. So 5 kilo 15s, 5 kilo crumb, and it's just off like that. Like I say, Grenville is a crazy lake, and there's no way that that's a single carp on that spot. They are out there undoubtedly ploughing through that bait as we speak, and if I'm fortunate enough to get this in, and it does feel like a really good fish, really need to get the rods back in over that bait before they eat it all up and move on. Really holding well at range, this. Really holding out there. It's a really nasty, shallow sort of area out here, often covered in weed. It's right over the top of it at the moment. Keep the rod high. Normally when I'm playing fish at long range, keep the rod low. I just find they come through the water easier like that, but I know you can get cut off out here if you're not careful, so I'm just going to hold the rod high, not pull too hard, but at the same time, try and keep it moving. Just hope it's just weed. Really grating. Just not pull too hard, just try and keep it moving. Right, it's moving, which is good. I think it's just weed. Just a ball of weed and a fish. It's nodding. Yeah, we're good, we're good. Oh, he says, definitely moving. That is a thick old linear, almost fully scaled. Oh. Yes, get in there, look at that. That is a carp. That is a carp. Look at that. Let's see what happens when I pull.
Right, well, very tight.
I just keep winding. But just...
Right.
Oh, you're good.
Is it clear?
Yeah. That one's obviously got off. If that D's pulled tight, there was a fish on that. No, it's not. It's not. Cheers, Scotty. Right, I don't know what you saw of that, but got one rod back on the money, cast the second one out, and was sinking the line, and the first one's gone, and then I guess it's gone through the line of the second cast, because Scotty's reeled it in, no fish on the end of it, but one's now in the weed, quite bad, but I'll just tease him through it if I can. As long as it's moving, it's moving. Oh, it's weedy out there. That is a lovely fish, that one. Yeah. The fish is the line, I think the line's caught on something. I think it's weed. Fish is kited round it and it's just grating through, but obviously I'm using tapered line, so I've got a real thin main line. And you just got to be real careful and ease it through the weed rather than try and pull too hard. But it is really tight, it's much tighter than I'd like it. But as long as it's moving, it's good. Which it is. Under a lot of tension though. think there's a real high point on a bit of a bar that runs out there. You can see it on the depth map. And I think the fish are kiting, but deep down in the water, the line is running into the side of the weed bed. And I'm now then not in direct contact, and you've got that horrible sort of jaggedy line slipping round the weed, and it takes ages to get them round it. But once it comes to that point, and you go over that high point, it's all clear sailing. But I don't know how much of this the line can take. You know, obviously every time you're like juddering it through the weed, you're worried. You know, each little bit of abrasion that you take out of a thin line like that is obviously taking a higher percentage of breaking strain compared to a thicker line. So just have to keep my eye on that, keep checking the line in between bites, make sure it's all good. But I've got another Grenville's carp on. It's a good start to the session, this, really good start. I'm sure if there was rods on the bait now, we'd be getting more takes. You know, this action will dry up as soon as that bait has all been eaten. This one looks like a smaller one, I think. Oh no, it's pretty wide, pretty wide, pretty wide. That's a decent fish and all that. No, 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 no. Get in there. Yes. Yes. Now we're rocking. Right, that's 2 rods in position. Gonna try and get the third out, and then we'll have a look at these fish. It's me. Oh, it's not, it's a take on the right-hander. It's a take on the right-hander. It's a take. It wasn't me. No sooner had I got 2 rods back on the spot, and the right-hand rod's gone again. Not had a chance to even get a rig on the left-hand spot of the 2. I think when I rebait tomorrow, I'll only bait 1 spot because this spot's pretty good by the looks of it. God, it's still pulling, still having it out there. Really having it. Taking 9 all that way out there. Coming. Oh God, it is far out still. Look, it's on the top. Get in there. It's a good one. Check that out. We did have 3 fish to show you, which soon became 4. One was a 32 pounder, one was a 34 pounder, and this one is 42. And would you believe it, it's not the biggest one. So we'll have a quick moment to admire this because it is a truly lovely, lovely old carp. But it's getting dark. We better get that bigger one out and see how big it is. Yeah. Well, you will have to forgive me. I said that there was a bigger one in the sling and it wasn't so. This one, perhaps the best looking at 39 pounds, and the perfect example of the fish here at Grenville. And just a reminder how that bait works in the deep water. I'm sure that the crumb with the smart liquid in the deep water is a huge edge, lets them nose it down there, pulls them down, and this is the result. Absolutely mega. Well, no sooner had we put those 4 fish back, I literally wrapped up one rod, whacked it back over the bait, sunk the line, was holding it on the rest, and it went in my hands. Yeah, they're obviously queuing up out there looking for what's left of the bait. I think probably the best course of action is to get a good night's sleep, leave the rods in for the night, get up in the morning and try and catch them when you guys can see them best, because yeah, I think we'll have a good session here. Get in there. Well, here he is, a rare Grenville's 20-pounder, 27.5, but a lovely example again of the fish in here. I've decided that I'm going to call it a day for today. I've only been fishing for a few hours, but John's driven 5 hours to get here this morning. I was on the gate at 5:20. I've not eaten anything. I'm absolutely starving. I'm knackered. So let's get him back, have a bit of food, and we'll see you in the morning bright and early. So then, it's the morning following the first night, and we didn't actually fish through the hours of darkness. Now, it was a pretty hectic afternoon. After getting the bait in the water, the fish, they just smashed the bait, and every time I cast the rods out, they were away. But I'm feeling refreshed, and I'm just getting myself prepared for hopefully what's another sort of action-packed day, if you like. I've got all my rods pre-wrapped up. I did that in the night. Marker rods are wrapped up as well. I've prepared my bait, so all my bait's crumbed up, soaked in smart liquid. The 10 mils again soaked in the smart liquid. They're all ready to go. I've got some hook baits here, 10 pink Isofish 15 mil wafters, all mounted on my little micro ring swivels that are going to go on my combi multi-rigs. And the last job I've got to do is get myself, I like to have sort of 10 hooks sort of checked through the eyepiece. So I've just looked at the points, made sure that I'm really happy with them, clipped them into that Kamakura box so that I know that they can't come to any harm, and that's going to save me a lot of time. You know, preparation can really catch you those extra fish, because once I put those marker floats out this afternoon, go out in the boat, put the bait out, put the rigs over the top. When I get a take, if I get a take, you know, what's going to decide and factor in whether I can get another take more quickly is how quickly I can get that rod back on the spot. So by having the hooks prepared means I haven't got to check them, so I can just unclip them, put them straight on the rig. Having the baits mounted on the micro ring swivels, I haven't got to sit there and do that. All I've got to do is get those rods round the distance sticks. I've got a 4th rod that will be pre-wrapped up in advance, so literally net the fish, bring the spare rod over to the bivvy, thread the hook on, thread the bait on, pop it out there onto the clip, hopefully in 1 or 2 casts, and then I'm ready, you know, ready for the day ahead. Now, it's very easy for me to sit here and say I'm going to catch loads because I caught loads yesterday, but That's the thing about fishing, no 2 days are exactly the same, and the fish do appear to be a little bit further out in the main, but I've still seen plenty close enough to the spot to think we're going to catch. So let's drink this coffee, finish those hooks, and then we'll have a little look at the rig before we get them out there. With the marker rods out, I found myself in a strange situation for Grenville Lake. Paul, the owner, phoned to say the bailiff was ill, and given my previous boatwork experience, could I bait up for the other nearby anglers, as well as myself obviously. More than happy to help, I firstly took out and dispatched the bait for the neighbouring angler before taking out my own bait, all prepped and ready to go. This turned out to be something of a small edge, as I could do this more in my own time rather than being under pressure and ready for the pre-arranged time. And of course, you can't help but feel that little bit more confident when baiting up yourself. Baiting complete, it was time to get the rods out. The long range casting distance made much easier by the assisting wind. Unlike the previous day, I'd actually managed to get 3 rods in with the bobbins on, but how long would it last? Well, I reckon the rods have been in less than an hour, probably closer to sort of 45 minutes. And when you think about all those food items, all of that crumb, all of those 10 millers, all of that sort of smell down there, for them to find one of those pink hook baits says quite a lot about them, in my opinion. You know, like what are the odds of, like, when it's probably thousands and thousands to 1 of the hook bait being picked up to the 3 food items, but certainly found it in quick time, and it feels like a really good fish. It's gone left away from that shallower bar which has been causing me trouble. And it's just out here over the deep water at the moment. I just need to try and tease it back quick enough before it kites right and gets back to that bar. Feels like a decent fish, this. Right, there's quite a bit of weed on top of some shallow ground that I'm casting over. Initially the fish went left, but kited back under the other 2 rods. It's got into the weed. And it is moving, but very, very slowly. And obviously I've got thin line on. I'm not panicking, I'm not like trying to heave-ho. As long as every few seconds I get a few inches, it means it's moving. And if we're moving, we're winning. And yesterday, it would do this each time, and then it'd slowly creak to a halt. You pull it out of the weed, and then everything would be plain sailing. But until we get over that shallow bit, oh yeah, I'm gaining now. It's just really important not to go mad. Just constant, steady pressure, and tease it through the weed rather than try and haul it. It's coming, here we go. Here we go. Still gaining. John, I need you to pick these lines up. Feels really decent, this. Hard to tell though, it's obviously got both my other lines, which is far from ideal. Oh, it's not, no, it's not close enough. That is a big fish. And it's absolutely caked on the lines, and now it's gonna off. Hang on, I need to get it really close. That is a big fish. Because the lines will only come when I'm pulling straight. Right, right. That's got to be close enough. Is it? Bit more for luck. Bit more for luck, bit more for luck, a bit more for luck. Bit more for luck. Right, let's see if I can get it. Yes! Oh, that wasn't ideal. Gone through two of both my other lines. They're going to be mangled, but we've got the fish. Well, that first fish caused me all sorts of drama. Kited right where my two other lines were hooked up on that shallow bit that's been causing me all hell and grief. Completely wiped out the other two rods. Had to, they've had to be cut and shut, as in I had to pull the rigs in by hand, and I'm gonna have to re-spool them. But for the meantime, I've just bashed two rods back out because two of my four were still spooled up and ready to go. Got them back out there, and before I had a chance to re-spool the other two, one of them's gone. You know, all that bait out there. It's a crazy, crazy, crazy venue. And just to reiterate, you know, this venue, 70 acres, 2,000 carp, average size 37 pound, loads of 40s, loads of 50s. Your lake, whether it's got 200 carp, 20 carp, you know, you just have to scale that. A lot of bait is a lot of bait for what's in your lake. So although I'm putting 20 kilos out at a time, you know, a kilo of 10 mils and a kilo of crumb on your venue might be more than enough, you know. So yeah, don't think, as I said at the very beginning, that it's necessary for you guys to be turfing in 20 kilos, because a lot of the time, less is more. Two in the bed and the little one said, roll over. Feels decent this, but it's hard to tell. Bubbles where it's coming out from the deep. Decent tail. Big brown one. Load of weed on the line, right above the tubing. He looks decent though. I can't get his head up because of the weed. Go on. Yes, 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 yes. We got him. We got him. Just. Oh. Well, it's all kicking off. The not long after that second one had gone in the net, I recast one of the two rods that I had out of the water, and the remaining one on the rest just busted into life. So there's one out there, centre of the spot, still fishing. There's one propped against the bivvy, and there's whatever's on the end of this. And it went on a hell of a run on that initial sort of lifting into it. It's all deep, barren, open water out there, like 30 odd foots. And it just went on a mad run out into the middle. And now it's kiting round to the right, which I don't have to be thankful of. It's coming right of a lot of that weed, but I've got that pen. There's a sort of a cage or a pen down to my right that it's only sort of 40 yards away, so if I don't shorten the line quickly enough, it can get round that, but still really, really far out at the minute. Coming in quite easy now. It's raining carp. I think it's a little fully or something like that. Like a little tiger down there, all stripy. I say little, it's not that little. Not little at all, really. Yes. Lovely. 3 in the bed. And the little one said, get your rods back out. Get your rods back out. 3 in the bed. Come on, Darrell. Whoa. A mini monster, this one, just over 40 pound, and the first bite after putting the payload of 20 kilos of ISO fish out there. 2 more in the slings to look at, one a similar size to this, one a little bit smaller, but all things looking very well. Let's get the other 2 out and see what they are. Whoa. Well, I said that I had another one of a similar size, but it seems I've under-egged myself a little bit. This one, 47.12, and the fully scaled was 30 pounds, 12 ounces. Incredible sport here at Grenville, and I'm sure there's going to be a few more just yet. But catching carp like this along the way, absolutely insane. 2 40s and a 30 in an afternoon. There you go. There you go. Oh. So I said that I was going to show you my rig, and that was late this morning. However, it's been absolutely hectic. Yeah, out of control at times, really. One of the first fish that I had went through my other 2 lines, wiped them out. I had to sort of cut, shut, manually pull the lines in by hand, re-spool, then process the fish that we caught, you know, the 3 fish, 47 pounder, a 40 pounder and a 30, recast the rods, and now it's already getting dark. I did get halfway through my lunch this afternoon before it all kicked off, but at the moment I'm absolutely starving. So rods are going to stay in through the night. I don't know whether to be hopeful or not, but I think there's a really good chance of a take, especially first thing in the morning, and failing that, tomorrow we'll do the big reset, get the markers back out, big drop of bait, and we'll see what happens. Well, another really busy night at Grenville. First one was a 29.5 pound linear, which was the smallest. There was a 36 pound mirror, a nice one. And this absolute corker, 35.5. Just look at him, covered in scales. One of my favourites of the session so far. I love him, absolutely mega carp. I think it's gonna be another busy day. It's just a case of getting my bait together. I didn't do it last night. Got to get the crumb made, get it all soaked up and get it out on those markers in the deep water and press repeat, because I think there's more to come just yet.
No sooner than we dealt with the amazing 35 pound fish, we were into another Grenville carp, and getting the bait ready would have to wait a little while longer.
Right, be careful of that pen.
Fortunately, this fish kited to the right, avoiding the weed on the shallow bar, and it came to the net without any time-consuming mishaps. We were almost in a catch-22 situation, where catching carp was preventing me from baiting up, and without bait, the bites would surely slow. But what can you do? You can't complain, that's for sure.
Oh no, I got him. Well, I did say that I was about to get my bait ready, but we were rudely interrupted by this. 40 pounds and 8 ounces, and the 440 so far. Grenville is some venue, but I'm not going to recast, because although I might get another take, the most important thing is to get that big hitter bait out there once again, and then try and catch as many as possible over that. So yeah, let's get this fella back and show you how to prepare that bait. Right, let's have a little chat about the bait and the mix that I'm using here at Grenville. First of all, the how-to, how I prepare it, but most importantly, the why I'm doing exactly what I am and what benefits I think that has. Now, I'm going to start up with what I call my carp cement, which for a better description is basically saturated boilie crumb. Now, to start with, I take my Ridge Monkey crusher, I take my boilie of choice, which in this instance is the Cell, and I don't overfill it. You know, I put a couple of kilos in, and if you go continuously with the handle in one direction, it will turn all of it into powder eventually, but that's not what I'm trying to do. So I go a few revolutions one way, a few revolutions the other way, and when about half of it has been transferred into crumb, you'll notice that you've got a load of chopped different sizes, different bits and pieces in the top, a few whole boilies, and then I pour them across into the crumb, and then I carry on until I've done the whole lot. And the benefit of that is I end up with a mix that's part crumb, part broken boilies, and part whole boilies. So I've got a right nice little mix going on there. So that's how I prepare the crumb first of all. And now the saturating part of it. Now you could put the Smart Liquid directly onto the crumb, but my preferred method is to put the Smart Liquid into a bucket of water, mix the water and Smart Liquid together until it's dissolved as best as it can be, and then pour that onto the boilie crumb. And once it's poured onto the boilie crumb, like sort of level fill it, and then just give it a little mix through to make sure that there's no dry patches of powder, that the liquid is getting into all of the boilie crumb. Leave that overnight, preferably 12 hours, 24 hours if you like, and then that is ready to go. Now, why do I do that? The first and main reason for a water like Grenville is that it's deep, there's a lot of undertow, it's a windswept pit, and if you put dry crumb out, strong chance of it catching in the undertow and landing absolutely nowhere near where you're fishing. So the first benefit is it makes it heavy, it will make it sink quickly, and it's got more chance of landing directly where you want it to, which is on your spot that you've chosen. Secondly, second thing, it's obviously saturated in attraction that's not going to wash off quickly, because it's embedded in that bait. You're going to get a real long-term leak off of attraction. So that's benefit number two. And benefit number 3 is dry bait, when it lands in silt on mud, will naturally draw on water and take on the odours of the lake bed. So I feel that it's much better to put it out saturated in an attraction rather than have it sucking on the odours of the lake bed. So 3 benefits that I think really aid the attraction and the application of that boilie crumb. And why boilie crumb? Boilie crumb keeps the fish in the area for much longer because you've got so many different size food items. If you just put boilies out, fish come and clean you out very quickly. If you put crumb out, you're gonna keep them there that bit longer. Moving on to the 10 millers, as you will see here, I've got my bucket of 10 mil Isofish boilies. Now, first of all, I take some lake water. I never use tap water because it has chlorine in it. So if I'm doing it at home, I use the water from my water butt in my garden, so the rain runoff. So I take some water and then I mix in some smart liquid. Now the ratio of smart liquid to boilies for me is half a bottle of smart liquid to 5 kilos of boilies. And for example, when I've done my crumb, I've done 10 kilos of crumb, so I've used a whole bottle of smart liquid. So that's the ratio, half a bottle of smart liquid to 5 kilos of boilies. So I put my half kilo into the water, I mix it in thoroughly so it's as diluted as it can possibly be. I then apply my 10 mil boilies. I like to put them in there frozen if I can, because I think when the boilies are frozen, as they thaw out, they really, really start to draw on that liquid. And that's the how-to. So soak them in the solution, preferably for 12 hours minimum overnight. 24 hours is absolutely ideal. And again, the benefits of doing that are, firstly, they're saturated in attraction. So they're going to be pumping out attraction for a longer period of time to bait that's been sort of coated in attractors. Secondly, the water's had a chance to get through the bait. It'll make it much easier eating for the carp, and I'm sure that they'll eat through the bait faster. And thirdly, again, as with the crumb, you're not drawing on the odours of the lake bed. I really think that is a big thing when you're fishing in the silt, when you're fishing in the mud. I think that really helps the fish to zone in on your bait. So simple, but very effective, are my top tips for using smart liquid.
With the bailiff still feeling under the weather, I was again given permission by Paul to cover the boat and baiting duties for my area of the lake. Fresh Isofish wafters were attached to the rigs before dispatching the rods to the now primed spot. The Grenville carp was soon on the scent of that smart liquid infused boilie mix, and I was hooked into another fish battling at range. Patiently negotiating this fish to the bank again won the day, and with one carp in the net, I was soon into another fish and another hectic spell of action.
Well, what a crazy afternoon it's been. Ever since I got the bait out, it's just been take after take after take. This one, 42 pounds. We had a 44-pound linear, a 38-pound mirror, and a 28-pound mirror. All the rods are wiped out. Every time we try to bring a fish up here, you just get another take and have to put the fish back in the water in the slings. It's been absolutely mental. But it just goes to show, get the bait out there, get your rigs out there as fast as you can, and make sure you get the recast back out there as fast as you can, because these fish come in herds, mow up that bait, and the action can be absolutely insane. What a lake, what a fish, what a session. Oh, 640s and counting, let's go.
Is it A, scaleless, old school Simo? Is it B, an Andy Parker, small, scaly, and again quite old? Or is it C, the newer generation, little hybrid of the two? I'm going to say it's one of the younger hybrids. I think there's more of them.
Well, a relatively quiet night after what was a very, very hectic evening. Nothing through the hours of darkness, and a single bite sort of mid-morning, which was this 27-12 common. But for now, it's time to get everything reset, get the rods back on the money, get some more bait out there, and I'm sure the afternoon will be productive. We've got a bit of a crosswind in now, so I've had to drop a little bit shorter, so that might make a bit of a difference, but we'll have to wait and see. Let's get it out there, let's see what happens.
At this point in your session, it'd be easy to take your foot off the gas. Maybe not intentionally, but you know, when you're tired and you've already caught some good fish, so you've already accomplished a lot, so to speak. If you're not careful, you can ease off a little bit. It's important to remember at this point, you could also be on the verge of something special, very special, when in my case there is still multiple 60-pounders swimming about out there. So yes, it's all about pressing repeat, but it's vitally important that you press the repeat button with the same level of attention to detail each and every time. The important elements that will continue to put fish on the bank, things like checking your hooks are sharp, attaching fresh hook baits, casting accurately, and of course prepping everything where possible, like clipping up a spare rod for a quick recast. Again, prepping the bait was a time-consuming job, and I could easily just take straight boilie out in the boat to bait up. But would it work as well? Probably not, and to me it's pointless taking a chance, not with things that are under my control. These elements of carp fishing, you need to do the best of your ability, every single time. Once again, I went through the process of crumbing down some boilie before mixing the smart liquid with the lake water ready to infuse through the bait. The mix looked and smelt great, and I knew the carp loved it. I just needed it to get out on the spot. So once I was happy with all these things, I sat down and cooked some much needed food, a carnivore diet special.
Well, this is the first time in over 72 hours that during the daylight I've managed to be sitting on my backside and doing nothing. It's been absolutely relentless until this point, but this morning, after a very, very quiet night, managed quite a rare common from this lake. You know, I don't catch commons very often. I'm not saying it's a rare fish, but it's quite rare to catch commons. It was 27.12 and yeah, bite out of the blue as such. But since then, I've made the decision to recast a little bit shorter than I was. I was fishing at 38 wraps, but we've now got not a strong wind, but we've got a bit of a crosswind that was making it a little bit difficult. So I've come back to 36.5, and that seems to have made the recasting sort of more comfortable. I'm still close to my sort of maximum, but yeah, it's doable. I'm hitting the clip every time, and I can do it again in the dark if need be. Now, I've also, once I'd cast those two rods out, I put out 2 goalpost markers either side of where I was fishing, left John, the cameraman, manning the rods, and then I've gone out in the boat and put another 20 kilos of bait. This time, 10 kilos of the isofish crumb soaked in the squid smart liquid, and then I've got 5 kilo of each 10mm isofish and 10mm cell in one's in squid, one's in the matching cell smart liquid, again on the spot. So 20 kilos in total. I'm only 18 feet short of the spot, so that should be good enough to catch. You know, in this swim I always feel most confident when the wind's blowing off my back. And obviously now it's blowing from right to left, so I don't know how confident to be, because I've not seen too many fish in the area, but we're in a part of the lake where they like to frequent. There's a lot of fish in the lake. I've got my lunch in my belly, which is a rarity over the last few days, and I'm feeling pretty relaxed. It's been absolutely epic until now, you know, to catch 640s and all the other fish along the way has been great fun, although very, very hard work filming it all and whatnot. But for the meantime, I'm going to take advantage of the little lull in the activity and perhaps put my feet up on my bed. Oh no, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to show you the rig. I promised you I was going to show you the rig, so I'm going to get my 4th rod ready right now and I'll show you the rig in a little bit more detail. Oh mate, it's nice doing nothing, or not rushing. 1, 2, 3. If you've watched any of the other films that I'm in with any sort of regularity, you will know that this rig is a mainstay in my angling. I'm not the sort of angler that likes to chop and change with his tackle, with his bait, and I like to use things that are tried and tested so that I can concentrate on what's most important, which is locating the fish and getting my rigs and bait onto the spot where I think they're most likely to pick it up. But to go into the rig very quickly, it is a combi multi-rig, and I use this whenever I'm using a slow sinking hook bait. So I don't use it for pop-ups, I don't use it for bottom baits, although you probably could, and I know certainly that other people have. I feel it's at its best with a slow sinking hook bait where the bait just sits that above the hook and the hook lies flat on the bottom. So your wafter doesn't want to be too buoyant, so it's like sitting the hook up. You want the bait to rest flat and the wafter just to sit over the hook like so. It's got a 5-inch boom, which is made from fluorocarbon, and what that does is helps for the rig to be, or the bait should I say, to be pushed away from the lead when it impacts the bottom so it doesn't land in a pile. In the event of an aborted take, again, it will reset and be fishing for you at all times. Now, the braided section is the real key to this rig. It's a combi multi-rig, and what the multi stands for is that the hook is mounted on a loop. So I'm able to take the hook off, take the bait off, but keep all of the other components the same. So I'm not needing to tie a fresh rig every time I want to cast out, but every single time I cast out, I put a fresh hook on and a fresh bait on, and that rig is absolutely perfect for doing so. Now, the most important thing about any rig is that it doesn't tangle. Obviously, I'm fishing here at 150 yards and I'm bashing it out there. The last thing I want to do is be sitting down thinking, oh, it might be tangled. And the reason it doesn't tangle is because it's basically set up in the way that it is. You've got no quick change system here. You've got a ring swivel directly on the hybrid leg clip. Now, you could fish it on a quick change system with an anti-tangle sleeve. You could do that, but it affects how far it casts. The rig doesn't sort of fold back against the tubing and become more aerodynamic. It sort of sits out to the side. And I do find that although it certainly works with an anti-tangle sleeve, it slows the cast down. And most importantly, you want a length of tubing. In this case, I've got 12 inches of tungsten dark matter tubing into the tail rubber. You want that to be longer than the rig so that the rig can't swing round the back of the tubing and catch up. So a very, very simple rig that's caught me hundreds and hundreds of carp all over the world, and wherever I'm fishing on clean bottom, regardless of the range, with a slow sinking hook bait, this is my go-to. Well, we had to wait a little bit longer than the previous days for the first bite, but we are finally into one, right hand rod, and it came in right over the top of the other two lines, which are laid down in that shallow, weedy bar that I've mentioned a few times, and it's pretty intense. Like, you're thinking, I've got two rods out there fishing perfectly, I've got one on. Obviously, your biggest concern is the one that you've got on, but really trying not to wipe out the two remaining that are on the spot still, because there's no way when you put out that much bait that one fish comes in and nabs the hook bait. You know, there's in my opinion, there's two reasons why it's a little bit slower than it has been. First of all, we've come in a little bit shorter, so you're not so far out into what is typically a safe area for them. And secondly, obviously the wind change. I just don't think there's the numbers of fish in the area that there was when we first arrived, but there's still enough about, and there's enough big fish in here to go out with a bang yet. So yeah, let's concentrate, try and get him in. In she goes. Yes, yes. Another nice one. Well, just when I thought I was going to get to put my feet up for the afternoon, the right hand rod has bust off. I was a little bit nervous, you know, having changed spot and the conditions haven't changed, and I was worrying, will the fish come closer? Will they feed on that area? But obviously they will, obviously they do. And a great sign of things to come. 38-12, and let's see what the rest of the evening brings.
As the session drew to a close, I woke to a lake covered in fog and a little in the way of carp activity, but the night had yet again been a busy one.
Look at that. That is what you call autumn gold.
Producing a stunning 34-pound heavily scaled mirror along with another 31-pound fish. But there was still one more special prize waiting to be seen.
Oh. When you come to Grenville, you know what's possible, but never in my wildest imagination did I think that I'd be saying that this is our 7th 40 of the session, 44 pound. And I think the real takeaway, key message from this film is, you know, at the start of the film, looked for the fish, found the fish, and that's a great starting point. From there, fishing at long range with the wind off your back, enabling you to go that little bit further, sort of puncturing an area where they feel safe. And then last of all, the bait application. These fish in this lake, they absolutely love bait. And although you probably in your own fishing won't need to put 20 kilos out at a time, on a lake like Grenville, where there's herds and herds of big uns like this, it is definitely the way forward. And those pink hook baits, they've definitely done the do. Hope you've enjoyed the film, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. I really hope you've enjoyed the film. If you did, don't forget to hit the thumbs up and turn notifications on if you'd like to see future films from Mainline Baits, and don't forget to subscribe. Cheers.